All right, y'all. We got is Aaron Rodgers actually washed? Shout out to Alex Rollins, NFL. Shout out to him, man. This should be an interesting video. Should definitely be an interesting one. I think A Rod still got juice in the tank. I think he had some good games last year. Overall season, no, but I didn't really believe in the Jets 100% last year as an offense. Like the play calling. Anyways, though, but let's go ahead and see what Brett talking about.
Aaron Rodgers joining the Steelers on just a one-year contract at 41 years old is the story of the 2025 NFL offseason. On one side of the coin, the Steelers just added one of the 5 best quarterbacks of all time to a contending roster with solid surrounding talent, a great coach and organization. But
Hey, everything cool about the Steelers except their offensive play call. No, I ain't gonna lie, the defense was very iffy. Like personnel on both sides of the ball, they got good personnel. But for some reason, whether it be defensive play calling or offensive play calling, it's not hitting.
on the other side, you could say Rodgers hasn't been good in 3 years. His final season with the Packers, torn Achilles, and last year with the Jets. So today we'll dive into really the only thing that matters. Is he washed, or can he still perform at a high
You know the thing is with the whole Belichick thing, double the number 2 wide receiver, and then put your number 1 corner on the number 2. Belichick number 2 corners was good, and his safeties was good. These teams that's why I look think like why they should go back to shadowing the corners or traveling whatever is Revis. They didn't do that with Revis, even though they second corner Antonio Cromartie was good. But it's like, hey man, we just gonna glue you to him. You know what I'm saying? But hey, one day we'll get it.
level in his last season ever? Last year, the Jets finished and last year with the Jets. So today we'll dive into really the only thing that matters. Is he washed, or can he still perform at a high level in his last season ever? Last year, the Jets finished 5-12. His stats appeared better than they felt, but to me, Rodgers
3,800 yards, almost 4,000 yards. So if he didn't miss any time, which I'm pretty sure he missed some games, he would have threw for over 4K with 30 touchdowns. That's pretty tough.
and the Jets' failure was primarily due to the dysfunction of New York's organization and culture rather than Rodgers' struggling play. I did a
Okay.
video last season criticizing the Jets for not running an actual offense, an actual scheme, but more of a collection of plays. This offense did not feel at all cohesive in any way. It felt like Rodgers took over, was
So I wasn't tripping. Alex Rollins just said it. He said that it wasn't necessarily Rodgers last year. It was the Jets.
just trying to get Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams in one-on-one ISO matchups every single down, which works on 5 or 10 plays a game. But in the NFL, you win due to your advanced strategy and scheme. You have to set up a defense to consistently create successful plays and a high-functioning offense. Rodgers, if allowed, is going to run his plays, his style of offense, which is go balls one-on-one over and over. Hello, DK Metcalf. A lot of quick game where you can diagnose the defense before the snap and get the ball out quickly. And then a lot of screens where he has what I call the Devontae screen, where it's, the defense is off at the line, we're either audibling or trying to run the Devontae screen. The Rodgers offense is high efficiency, low risk, explosive plays are coming from perfectly thrown fades or ripping off big time yak on screens. But if the quarterback is dictating the offense, at the end of the day, you will be bad. You can't win on just goes, quick game, and screens, which is why Matt LaFleur had to blend in elements of his own offense to add to the Rodgers offense. And Aaron had a career renaissance, winning back-to-back MVPs at age 37 and 38. But
That is wild to
Nathaniel
think of.
Hackett in tow in New York, Rodgers knew he could control him instead of respect him. Rodgers just did what he wanted, and the results were at best disappointing. Their offense became extremely predictable. As I said, Rodgers lives on fades, and against one high man coverage, you want the slot fade every time, because you have just the one high safety who can't get over the top to help. The receiver has more space because he's in the slot. The cornerback is typically more worried about a quick slant beating him over the middle because that could turn into 6. So there's usually a ton of room for Davante to work here, but you can see Garrett Williams playing way off at the snap. He also has help inside, so he knows that if he thinks what's coming, the slot fade happens, he can just bust ass deep, and there's no room for the legendary Rodgers-Davante deep fade connection. Rodgers knew what plays he wanted to run. He thinks the game at arguably the highest level any quarterback ever has. But because of the dysfunction of the Jets organization, there was a lack of coordination on the offense. So way too often, Rodgers wasn't on the same page as his receivers, even Davante. And that's because the coaching staff failed this offense. Yes, Rodgers picks the plays, but there are rules on each play that Hackett and his staff need to install. If this guy's inside, you go here. If he's outside, then you go here. The Jets were one of the least coordinated offenses in the league. Against cover 0, Rodgers knows he's going to get a free rusher. Since the Cardinals are blitzing more than the Jets have in protection, they're sacrificing having a deep safety, so it's just one-on-one man coverage. And cover 0 is a perfect situation to analyze how on the same page an offense is. It doesn't really have much to do with the quality of the quarterback's arm, or the receiver's route running, or even the protection. It's all about if your offense can execute a choreographed dance. But instead of hinging outside away from the defender like Rodgers expects Davante to, Davante sits down, and you can see how frustrated Garrett Wilson is. This was the wrong adjustment, or altogether the wrong play. The Cardinals ran cover.
Y'all think Garrett Wilson gets 1K yards this year with what's burning Justin Fields?
Cover 0 4 times on the day, and the Jets had consistent issues getting on the same page to where they could execute against it. This is a play I broke down last time where it's cover 0, so Rodgers has to get rid of it quick, where the Jets are running a mirrored concept in Haas.
It helped their O-line was terrible. They had no run game, so A-Rod needs an OC. So I'm getting it, bro. I don't know if I hope he picked the OC with the Steelers or had no he didn't. They already have their OC. I hope they figure something out there because I don't trust that destination.
Rodgers has to execute against it. This is a play I broke down last time where it's cover 0, so Rodgers has to get rid of it quick, where the Jets are running a mirrored concept in Haas F Juke, which has 2 seams and 2 curls. But watch out, Tyler Conklin runs his curl just a little further than Breece Hall does, so that detail is missing. And because of the blitz, Rodgers expects Conklin to hinge a bit outside as well, since each cornerback.
So who was the first read right here?
And because of the blitz, Rodgers expects Conklin to hinge a bit outside as well, since each cornerback.
What the heck?
And because of the blitz, Rodgers expects Conklin to hinge a bit outside as well, since each.
Oh, that was not a good selection. He kind of stared down Conklin. Like that had to be the go-to read.
Each cornerback
He's just
inside leverage and cover 0.
That was not a good decision.
There are no deep safeties or rat linebackers over the middle. The defense wants to protect the inside to force a longer throw outside. So Rodgers knows the cornerback will be ready to jump anything quick since he knows the ball has to come out quick against a free runner, which is why Rodgers expects Conklin to hinge outside, which doesn't happen.
Crazy.
When defenses find your weakness, they're just going to keep running the same stuff over and over, attacking the same problem area. And as I said, the Cardinals kept dialing up cover 0. The problem here is that smart quarterbacks like Rodgers bring in extra protection against this type of blitz. And I'm a fan of when defenses add the guy covering the protection man onto the rush. But since the Cardinals don't do that, the Jets do have enough in protection. It's 7 for 7 now, so a hat on a hat. But Morgan Moses gets confused and blocks Conklin's guy. It's possible he didn't even hear Rodgers or see Conklin coming in for the protection. So Breece Hall blocks who he's supposed to block if Conklin's not there, which leaves Buda Baker wide open to take Rodgers from behind. Now that I've showed you how most of the Jets' offensive struggles came down to the Jets' dysfunction, not Rodgers, I'll isolate him as best I can and say that I believe he played pretty well. His arm is still just as strong. He lost a little bit of accuracy. He'd missed just 1 or 2 more throws per game that he typically used to hit. but overall I am confident that he will be good in Pittsburgh. I really
pretty good
like this
pass.
play where he sees it's one high safety and knows he has his scissors concept, which is more of a two high safety beater. Typically it beats two high because the safety and cornerback follow the post and the corner comes open. But against just one high, the corner just runs into the cornerback, the post the safety. So Rodgers,
I
knowing
think
that,
Garrett
starts his
Wilson. I
progression
agree
with
with that.
Devontae, who gets
Talent
pressed on the block.
wise, he has the skills as far as like creating separation. He has the skills to be up there with some of the best. It's just a full season, like just having a full season like body of work where he got a good quarterback. He hasn't had that yet, really. Like I genuinely think he had it with Rodgers, but obviously there's no scheme, no terrible play calling. But I think if they would have had that there, Garrett Wilson would have did really good last year. Probably made Pro Bowl.
This moves Darnell Savage off his spot from the middle of the field just
Yeah,
a
no,
little.
I
So
think he's up there.
Rodgers sneaks one by him up the seam
Potential-wise.
for a touchdown. Then later in the game, you can see the Jags trying to disguise that same one high coverage. But at the snap, they drop into Tampa 2 zone 2 high coverage with a middle linebacker running up the pole. But Rodgers can still rip absolute seeds anywhere on the field and connects on a bomb straight down the field. These
Bro,
are
I remember that game. He was slinging it. It was two games, I think, within like a 4 or 5 week span where he threw for 300 yards, and this was one of them. He was on some dimes. Ohio State wide receiver you over LSU? Probably. Yeah.
promise and connects on a
What?
bomb
Nah. Let me take that back. I think Ohio State got depth. They got depth. LSU got like heavy hitters.
straight down the field. These are promising Rodgers plays. I think he's still got it. I think he's not washed. But as I said, Jets or no Jets, he's still going to run his style of offense. He doesn't like throwing over the middle. I know, we just saw those two plays. But he never throws to the intermediate middle area, and that's actually a huge part of Arthur Smith's offense. Rodgers has never liked it because that's where the most passes are intercepted. A safety or linebacker could pop into the window out of nowhere at any moment. But it's also the part of the field where there's the most yak potential, where QB rating is the highest. If you've ever watched non-elite quarterbacks play in Kyle Shanahan's system, you'll see the ball consistently flying through the middle intermediate part of the field. Even if Rodgers wanted to hold the ball longer to get it to the middle, the Jets' offensive line was literally not NFL quality. Another reason why
That's crazy to say. The Jets' offensive line was not NFL quality, but they in the NFL. You know, I'm wondering if with the Steelers, him going there, they're giving him free reign to call his own plays. He said it's gonna be his last season too. So if everything goes smooth, I think it's A-Rod. I think he gonna play again, but we'll see.
last season wasn't as much Rodgers'
Ibuka
fault.
gonna be good. Yeah, they got too many receivers though.
Veterans filling key spots,
We'll see.
coordination issues where guys were mixed up on their assignments, or even schematic issues.
Reese had
where the
3
coaches
games
put
under
their
10
guys
yards.
in
Is crazy.
unfair situations. Here the Jets are using a 5-man scat protection, which you usually don't see against 6-man mugged fronts, which is when there are 2 linebackers sitting in each A-gap. That's because first, if everybody comes, you have a free runner 6 on 5, and second, you usually have a running back helping on one of the 2 linebackers to make sure you don't have a free runner up the middle. Or if you slid everybody to one side to take care of the middle, you don't have a running back on a big defensive end. Well, the Jets don't have a running back helping at all. Their plan is to slide 3 to the right, 3 for 3, but then have John Simpson and backup right tackle Max Mitchell sit inside to protect the A-gap, but then also shift outside for the
I'm
other
learning
2
something. I ain't gonna
corners.
lie.
So you're saying to Mitchell, okay, if all 3 come, you take Ed Oliver, and Rodgers has a free runner. But if just 2 come, you have to be prepared for all 3 to come. Also block AJ Epinesa if all 3 don't. It's an impossible situation for any left tackle, let alone a backup right tackle. And once again, the Jets were just not a very coordinated offense. That's why the entire discussion around Rodgers has gotten muddled. And unless you're grinding the film like we did today, it's really hard to know how good or how bad he was last season. I think he's stepping into a much more stable organization with a much better coach, a better O-line. He doesn't have somebody as good as Garrett Wilson, or doesn't have an old buddy like Devontae, but the Steelers at least have enough around him where the offense could be good. It is so difficult to tell how good a quarterback is when they're with a bad franchise, and that's why we've seen bad franchises tank promising young rookies time and time again. I'm not saying Rodgers is the same Rodgers of old, but we got to see what a still very good quarterback looks like in a very bad situation. You can't excel if your offensive line doesn't stand a chance, or if your receivers aren't on the same page as you. It's as simple as that. But now that Rodgers is with a real organization, with an actually coordinated offense, I'm not saying the Steelers are gonna win the Super Bowl, but I believe we're gonna see a much better Aaron Rodgers in the last dance of his career.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. If on paper the Jets should have been, they should have been a threat to every AFC team on paper. It's disappointing to see how that played out. But again, I mean, yeah, organization. He went to a good organization with the Steelers, but it's uncertainty. Now it could work out, but we're just gonna have to see. There's no guarantee. Take the dog off the leash. Gotta let him roam free. Want to come inside? Want to go out to pee? All right. Y'all stay blessed.